to start with a quote of something you've written that I'd love to get you to talk about. All right. Okay. This collective suffering has brought upon a readiness in many human beings for the evolutionary leap that is spiritual awakening. For many individuals alive now, this means they have suffered enough. No further suffering is necessary. The end of suffering. That is also the essence of every spiritual teaching. Be grateful that your suffering has taken you to this realization. I don't need to suffer.
Yes, well, those aren't my words.
They're not?
No, I may have quoted them. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But that's nothing I would ever say.
Oh, perfect.
Not in the ballpark, not remotely.
Okay. Perfect. Well, let's start off with some horrible job on my part.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean,
okay.
Actually, negation is more important than affirmation at a time when so many people are hypnotized.
Okay.
It's negation. In other words, you stated something that is a non-dual trope. Everyone wants to believe that there's this carrot at the end of the universe called I won't suffer anymore. And the whole sales pitch is that someone has the key to open that box for you where there's no suffering. That's it. And my whole approach to this is to be honest and to say I find myself awake, but not without suffering. In fact, quite the opposite. I think as we awaken, we suffer more, not less.
Interesting.
And so the awakeness, a part of the awakeness, part of the essence of what I call awake, and I understand other people have other definitions. We have to live with that. That's fine. But for me, the essence of it is to be with what is. If that's a toothache, well, it just is. You have to suffer it. If it's a broken heart, which is non-material, not like a toothache, okay, it is, you know. And I've had a broken heart. Most people have, really, in one way or another. And the idea that we can escape from that into nirvana here, where you never feel that anymore, to me is, well, it borders on delusional.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that the speakers that are resonating here are those that are talking about the, for lack of a better phrase, we'll call it the human condition that just happens, and not this escape, but more of an invitation to.
Oh, that's good to hear, because I think that message is what spiritual people who would call themselves spiritual, I put on the scare quotes because I can't really separate spirit from matter myself. And it's a bit humorous or ironic that people who call themselves non-dualists would immediately bifurcate reality into matter and spirit. That's the ultimate duality, actually, making a duality from where there wasn't one in the first place. There's no spirit, there's no matter. This is it. There's not two different it's all of a piece. This is it. This is it. There's a long history of that. I don't know if we have time for that today, but I could go into vitalism and how even up to the 18th century, spirit was split from matter. And that idea persists now because people are ignorant of science.
Well, keep going with that. That sounds great.
Okay, well, let me take a step back then. Vitalism is a very ancient idea. It goes back to the ancients, the Greeks and all of this. And it persisted within science also until the 18th century. What they believed then is that there are certain compounds that are organic, and we find them in living things, like, you know, a tree, or charcoal is also, that carbon is organic. Those compounds were organic. What made them organic is that they had a vital force. They have a life force. And inorganic compounds did not have that life force. They were separated in that way. But what happened in the 19th century is that some cat, a free thinker, didn't take that as a final answer. And he synthesized urea in the laboratory, which was a so-called organic compound, and he synthesized it from completely non-organic sources. So there was no way for this elan vital or this spirit to have, okay. Now, I'm not saying that science is the only way to find things out. I would never say that, but it's the best way. We know that because this entire world is running on an immense complexity of things that work. And they work because the theories behind them weren't just speculation, they actually got you somewhere. Okay, that's real. That is real. In other words, you and I are having a conversation now because of 100 years of mathematics and physics has culminated in this ability. I can't imagine why someone would say that we're dreaming this. A dream is a dream, and this is what we're actually doing, yes? And if there's some other place, I have no idea where that is. Okay, but I'm just on a rant now, but let's return to the vitalism, because that was the point. I don't want to drop it. So there was this idea that there are two worlds, matter and spirit. In Christian mythology, God made a man out of clay and he breathed the life into him. The word spirit means breath. So that's this myth that inanimate objects become alive because they have spirit in them, and other things don't have spirit and they're dead. They've never been alive and they can't get alive. So our intelligence in that way of speaking is spiritual. That's the idea. It comes from the outside and it's put into this clay vessel here. It's what Alan Watts called the ceramic theory of the universe, ceramic view of the universe. So that is the belief that pervades non-duality. The idea is consciousness is primary. All this is just material, it's a dream. That's the basic idea. Not every non-dualist believes that, but a big proportion of them do. I know the non-dual pendulum swung way fucking far. And now I think it's coming back. I did this interview with Tim Freak, who's a cool guy. It was a beautiful interview. He had written 35 books. He's a famous philosopher. He's on lists. And he wrote 35 books, and the bulk of them expressed the classic non-dual view. And in our interview, he said that he had moved away from that. That's why he was interviewing me, because I had expressed this doubt about some teacher of that non-duality stuff. And he felt that doubt, and the two of us got together to discuss it. And he's an influential person, and he's moving away from that now. I'm not really an influential person, but I've never been there. I saw non-duality as a cul-de-sac the moment I got a whiff of it. There really is, now I want to be clear on this, Noel, because there really is non-duality. But there's also not non-duality. And there's also not either duality or non-duality. There's non-duality, there's no non-duality, and there's neither no non-duality or non-duality. All of that is here in reality. Not that non-duality is reality, and the rest of all these other items that we put in the box, throw them away. That's not it.
Understood. Well, I was on your website and reading some things, and I live in Costa Rica. And in Costa Rica, there are these guys that go up on the mountainside. They call them chapeadoras, just with a machete, hacking away the side of the mountain. And everything I read of yours, I feel like it has that chapeadora energy, just hacking away. you know, your authenticity and how you're approaching things might have the opposite effect, because more people might want to listen to you because you don't give a shit. You know, you like being helpful, but you're not trying to be this, you know, this guru, or it's even uncomfortable for you.
The great Jiddu Krishnamurti, who was a famous man all his life and had hundreds of people coming to his gatherings looking for this man's secret. When will he really reveal? When will he let his hair down? But he never did. He always talked in the third person. Is it all right, sir? You know, this kind of thing. Very formal. Wasn't really spilling the beans. But one day he said, do you want to know my secret? And it was like that. Do you remember this TV commercial where some brokerage guy,
yeah,
remember when he shuts up immediately? You remember that shit? Well, it was like that. Everybody just, and he said, my secret is, you know, I don't care. So that's what you were talking about, yeah?
Perfect. Yeah, that's freedom right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go to these questions.
Yeah.
What's the ultimate nature of reality, and is there any purpose of this existence?
So is this a question that came from some viewer of our meeting?
Yeah, people have been pushing that Q&A button, and
I see. There's 32 participants here. That's very nice.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. Would you repeat that? It's gone in one ear and out the other.
Yeah. What is the ultimate nature of reality? Is there any purpose of this existence?
Yeah. Well, those are the questions that I say no human being is situated to reply to in a factual way, because we would have to be standing outside of this to evaluate it. I don't even know what reality is, much less its ultimate nature. And I think if you require meaning, you may not. There are people who are just natural existentialists. I'm not entirely that way, but I am to a degree. So I understand these other people who are, you know, just natural existentialists. They just live for the moment. You know, get on the motorcycle, stop at the cantina, have a drink, make love to some woman, and then down the road on the bike. They find meaning in that. Or they're willing to live without the meaning that most of us think we need. So I don't know which, whatever. I'm a little like that, but not whole hog. But if you need meaning, my advice, I'm giving advice. I finally jumped the track. For a long time, I had a policy of never speaking that way, in order not to be confused with these people who speak from on high. But I'm not speaking from on high. I'm really not, and I hope that's understood. I'm just telling you my experience for what it's worth. I don't claim to be the purveyor of all knowledge and reality, far from it. There's so much I don't know. And the more I find out, the more I see how much more there is that I don't know. So my ignorance is expanding. My circle of ignorance is expanding. It's beyond my control. If I spend an hour in the garden, which I love to do, and start looking at little insects and their life there, there's so much going on in just this one little patch that I know nothing about. And it really can't totally be explained to me. But, oh, no, I've gotten sidetracked. Oh, yes, meaning. If you need meaning, my advice is find meaning in friendships, love affairs, the work that you do, the way that you can help other people if that arises. And I think you may find enough meaning in that so that you won't need some guarantee or some esoteric explanation of reality. You can have that also, but try to find meaning in what's right in front of you on the table, where it always is.